Hello everyone and welcome again. Now it's half term and we should all be on the beach with our little ones down in Cornwall. I've been talking to friends who said that's what they have planned, or other beaches around the country. So instead we are going to the beach to meet amazing Simon Stallard, who is the owner-founder of the Hidden Hut, which is one of Britain's best kept secrets. Not really anymore, but he has done an amazing job. I'm just going to see if we can invite him in and get him on. There we are. Simon, I've sent you a message. I think if you request to join me as well, that would be great. But he's an amazing chef. I'm really looking forward to this talk to find out about his journey, because he's cooked all over the world. And having looked at his book, I love it because he's quite influenced. But I love the way now he does these amazing feasts outside where he is just sharing this beautiful food with everyone, with these long tables on beaches he's known for. Simon, if you asked to join, oh, brilliant, well done. We think the same. Long. So we will be joined by him, and we can all pretend we're on the beach. Simon might be on the beach, or he might be at home. Hello, Simon.
I've just got back from the beach. Hey, Brad, how you doing? Evening.
Have you? You look all nice and windswept and full of colour and handsomeness.
I don't know about that. Yeah. Windswept for sure, but yeah, no, good. Nice to see you. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm fine. Can I just introduce you properly again for those who have just joined? So everyone, we're looking at Simon. Simon Stallard, who's the owner and head chef of the Hidden Hut. He also has Stallard's, which does the amazing feasts on beaches, and he's now wanted all over the place doing corporate work. And he also has Tatum's, the coffee bar in Pulscatho. So Simon, you are not one to sit still, and so you must be quite fidgety in this current situation.
It's quite amazing, really. Yeah, I am. I'm always on the go. You know, we were meant to be in Texas a couple of weeks ago. We were at Porthley at the festival that didn't happen, unfortunately, again today, and we were all over the place. But actually, I think that the time just lets you sort of regroup and pick up other things. You know. We've done stuff over the last few weeks that we would have never have done before. We've had such fun. We've helped massively out with the homeless here in Truro. So we've been doing loads of suppers and food for the St. Petrox in Truro, and they basically do an outreach sort of centre there. So we sort of do food boxes and loads of stuff for them, which has been brilliant. We'd have never have had the time to sort of do
That's really nice.
And as well as that, you know, we live cooks. I did a live cook last night with Waitrose, all sorts of different things where you find yourself actually just at home. But we've got a young family, so ultimately it's really nice just to be able to actually have a bit of time with the gang as well. So
that's quite a treat, isn't it?
It is. But no, it's cool. You know, ultimately we just sort of like, you know, we'll just adapt and just sort of move around whichever sort of direction we feel sort of right. You know, we're super lucky that we've still got a health and we live here, you know, so. No,
I'm loving your positivity and sending it to everyone else to enjoy. Can I just ask you about your story as a chef?
Yeah.
How did you start off? Where did you train?
So I sort of trained, I left school at 16 and then I went straight to catering college at Guildford.
Yeah.
But I did sort of like a day release. So I worked in 2 restaurants from there around in the Guildford area. And then I moved into sort of London and I worked in and around loads of different restaurants. And then I found myself still pining for sort of experience really more than anything. And I always love the idea of being able to sort of cook and travel. So I just basically said, well, I'm going to use this to enable the travel. So by the time I was 20, I was living in France. And I cooked sort of like in a few different places in France, but I found myself then in like an alpine village. And then I went to like northern Italy, and I worked on a whitewater river, cooking just outdoors on like the riverbank on this big river. up in Aosta, in the top of northern Italy, and then
Beautiful.
yeah, it was amazing. And then I sort of came back and I was like, oh wow, I still feel that there's more, and there's more that I wanted to do. And then different opportunities sort of opened up, and by that time, you know, I'd sort of cooked at quite a good level, or different levels and different sorts of food. I got offered a job to help with food trending, or the idea of cultural food trending. So the fact of where different trends are moving in culturally and how things are sort of moving in the world. So you can start to sort of predict patterns or look at stuff that's going to happen and try and forecast maybe influences that are going to come through from different areas in the world, and actually then sort of trying to sort of work with chefs to enable their menus to be able to sort of like accommodate those ideas without losing too much shape. So I sort of found myself then in New York. I worked with a few brilliant chefs there, and then I worked in Asia. So I've sort of done, I really did my bit, but I spent so much time living in beautiful, I mean, absolutely incredible hotels and luxury resorts, but on my own. And you know,
that's not so good. You've got the dream, but not.
Oh, I used to work in a place called Amampulo in the Philippines, and you go in by private jet. I mean, it was just the most luxurious place. But if you're on your own, I don't know. I don't really. It was just like, you want to share it with someone. I'd rather just be in like a backpackers with my mates or with my girlfriend, wife. You're just like, I love that idea of it not, you know, that. So I just said, oh, you know what, I'm gonna stop and try and come back. And
Can I just ask you, at this time, were you working as a chef or as a consultant on these food trends?
well, both really. So so I was working for like an asset management company, but I sort of sat between the chef and the owner, you know,
Okay.
in theory. So I wasn't so much hands-on cooking, but I was more. It's quite hard where these big.
You were breathing life into their food and their menu, and excitement,
or just changing it, or just like getting everyone to look at it slightly differently, or how maybe like even that idea of a touch more about what people might like to receive in those resorts. You know, the idea of those resorts where it's $10,000 a night to stay there, that you instantly think that people so desperately need high-end, really, really polished 7-course tasting menus every single day, and that's a struggle for some of the chefs and some of the restaurants to actually understand that sometimes they just want half an avocado and some green salad and just salad dressing. That's just how it is, you know. And but it's very hard sometimes for the chefs to like just. They're waiting for such a long time sometimes for guests, and they're really creative, and just sometimes it can just like end up the simplicity just gets completely lost. So we took the chefs more out of the kitchen. We took them onto the beaches. They all have private beaches, and actually and having like the boat sort of land like the local fish, and just that idea when you turn up somewhere like that and you kick your shoes off, and you know, to be able to afford it, you've obviously got a relatively stressful life. And, you know, that idea of being able to just kick back and relax, and it really works. And I think that I've taken so much of that back into what we do now with how we do things, and just that big sort of simplicity in our food, but just making sure that we get the social impact of what we sort of do right as well.
That's so interesting to hear, because I didn't know any of that. And so working for these absolute high-end places where people are spending thousands a night, to then, as you say, kick off their shoes and have fish fresh from the boat, and just say barbecued, but with a perfect sauce or delicious olive oil. Simplicity is sometimes the best, and that's what you've built your new business up on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think that, you know, the relevance of how much money you have or where you come from, it's just that idea of a Wednesday night. What would you have at home? Just the fact that you go on holiday, it doesn't necessarily need to be so different. And Yeah, I think the big thing that we desperately try to do here is certainly in Cornwall we're super lucky with the produce, but is really
Yeah.
just try and we're looking at the minute our big project. We're trying to build a piece of software at the minute that basically can through a data grab, it can linear grab every single product that we buy. So we've got 3,700 lines of products that we buy through all of our businesses. And we're trying to build like a transparency into where those products are made, grown, and actually their impact that they have on the environment. And ultimately, so we can really start to use this catalogue to be able to be sort of showing consumers what it is, what the dishes actually represent in food miles, in carbon offset. Just that idea where we can actually really give some clarity on how sort of local and where this kit's come from. And, some things, the lentils and stuff that aren't grown here, but actually we'd love to be able to look right the way back to the suppliers. So that's
Gosh, you're taking fair trade one step deeper almost, and showing people exactly where things come from. And you've always been into sustainability, haven't you, and sustainable food?
Yeah, I love the idea of having that transparency and it not just be just spoken about, but actually just it be there for everyone, just for the public to actually access if they're interested or if they care, but actually just to have it there, I think is really important. And I think it's something that we're really, really passionate about and we're really sort of driving forward with.
I love that idea. It's almost like now on a menu, you see whether it's gluten intolerant or, for this diet or that diet, but you're taking, and 5 years ago, everyone would have said that was crazy that you have to put all those restrictions on or labelings. Yeah. But now this is quite interesting because I've not heard of anyone actually linearly listing what the traffic and the movement of all that food and where it's sustainably from and the freshness of it. So that's very clever, because with Stallards, you set up these amazing feasts where people could come, and you had places for 900, but you had 27,000 people apply. They sold out in seconds. The papers were writing about you. Can I just ask you, what sort of platform did you have? Because it must have just crashed constantly.
That's the problem. That's been our biggest issue with our bigger issue is not actually catering or like cooking for people or doing the bit we love. It's actually just dealing with the volume of traffic, certainly just for a small period of time. And we don't have millions of tickets. So we use C tickets at the minute. They seem to have the biggest platform and they can just about obtain the biggest amount of bandwidth, but they struggle still. It's a problem. It's a problem that's not actually, it is a problem. It's not something that we like relish in, because ultimately it's only probably 2 or 3% of people that actually manage to get the tickets. Yeah. So there is a lot of like disappointment there. And we just sort of say, well, the hut's open, come down anyway. Everyone's sort of welcome. And the whole thing about the feasts they were inclusive and anyone could come. They weren't too expensive. You bring your plates, you bring your cutlery, and just sort of come down and just enjoy some simple food on the beach. And the idea where you're sort of turning people away and the tickets you haven't got a ticket and stuff, it was just never where we wanted to be, really. But
I don't think it's doing you any injustice. You're a bit like Glastonbury, I think, of restaurants. And everyone still goes back to Glastonbury. Can I just ask you, because you love fire cooking, don't you? That is your passion. Yeah. And I hear you have a log collection.
Yeah,
and
we
you
do.
Cook things specifically on different woods that you've dried out correctly.
Yeah, so we've got like a wood library. So we have like a barn, and we're a complete anorak of just like how the wood's stacked, and we've just got a huge barn, and all of the wood's being seasoned for other years. We use great suppliers. Tree wood harvesting, amazing at like doing all of the kiln dried logs and sort of like a bit more different sorts of splits and cuts for different stuff that we're cooking. But ultimately, we've got a wood-fired taverna in Port Scatho as well, sort of behind the coffee shop. And there's a small, sneaky, secret dining table in there on the grill. And that's like my private dining space where I just have friends and family, or just people that just want to be tucked away. And with that table, we actually don't even discuss the food anymore. We give them a menu of wood. So they basically, they select the words, and they'll pick apple, cherry, walnut, whichever woods they like. And then we'll go back and then we'll pair this with like seasonal produce and proteins to go. And we'll exclusively cook or smoke or finish or darken with those particular fuels through. And it does make a difference. It makes a massive difference. Even moisture content, we register everything through it for different smoke emissions and stuff. We're proper anoraks when it comes to cooking with wood. But
no, it's fantastic. And I love your also your hot stone cooking that you do. That to me looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of just being outdoors, just anywhere outdoors, and just that idea we're trying to do. I work really closely with an amazing photographer, with Danny North, and we were talking about just doing like a really small, sort of snappy series of, we're often just sort of like creeping around the headland or just anywhere, but just try and inspire people to actually have, you don't need like massive, great big grills. You don't need to spend thousands of pounds on these. They are beautiful. Some of them are incredible, but you don't need it. We always just try and make our own or make them out of bits and pieces. And we're really, really playing on working with just going to find the environment and just like cooking and just leaving without a trace and just having supper. We've just done some incredible ones with some cheese, literally like a couple of days ago with, some whole baked camemberts, smoked and stuff. They really are beautiful. But just that, I love the idea that you can put a reel of cheese in your pocket and just creep on for a walk and go and have and a loaf of bread and go and have the most incredible cheese on toast.
That's a really nice one. I like that. Tell me, when you were a little boy, were you into campfires? Did you have the ability to build campfires, and did you make those dampers on sticks and cook them?
Yeah, I think I was probably a bit of a naughty boy. It was definitely, I think I went to the Scouts once, but after that they were like, no more. He's not coming back. So I probably quite like the idea of it more than we actually did it. But I think, we lived in the garden. My brother and I, we were always out in the garden. I think I don't ever want to be indoors. I always want to be outside. And I think we're so lucky that we've created a life where we can still cook and do the stuff that we absolutely love and be outdoors.
How did you manage to transfer from being a chef around in these amazing places not a chef consultant, in these amazing places to Cornwall? How did you link up with Cornwall?
It's quite funny. A really close friend of mine who I used to work with previously to going away, his father had like a few opportunities of hotels, restaurants, and he just said, I've got a hotel in the Cotswolds. I'd love you to come and run it, cook. You just like, and he said, no, and I've got a crap old pub down in Cornwall that you would never be interested in. And he said, the hotel's really cool. And I said, well, what's this crappy old pub? And then the long and short of it was, I said, I'm really interested in the pub. And I hadn't spent any time in Cornwall really at all. We always a holiday was always a flight. It was always to go away. And he said, oh no, it was an old coaching inn. And I said, well, I'm really interested to go and have a look at it. And it was the Rosend Inn on the Rosend Peninsula, which is probably about 1.5 miles from here. And I walked in and it just stank of chip fat fryer oil, dirty oil and sticky carpets. And I was just like, I love this place. This is beautiful, but it just needs everything. The carpet's taking out, and they had these massive flagstone floors underneath, and just all of the old fireplaces. We just took everything out and literally we did hardly anything to it. And then we made all of these incredible contacts around for producers. I'll give you one of the stories. One of the stories when I turned up, I was probably quite pumped up from maybe a New York, London style chef scene. And I rolled down into the middle of nowhere. And I basically said to the local farmer, I could see he was growing potatoes over the road, and I said, look, we're really keen on using your potatoes here at the pub. It's, you know, you're right across the road. And he was like, okay, cool, I'll deliver them to, you know, next week. And I said, okay. And Saturday he said he'd deliver. He didn't turn up. So I rang him up and said, where are the potatoes? He said, directly. I'll do them when I'm ready. You know, there's no hurry. And I was like, come on, I really need these. The following week, he basically didn't turn up again. So I rang him up and I was like, where are these potatoes? Why? I can't believe you've done this to me. And he said, okay, all right. And then he basically came into the car park there and he landed 40 tons of potatoes. He just tipped them into the car park and drove off. And he's like, I've never been spoken to like that as a farmer. It was just like there was a massive stop and shock of,
oh,
and everyone was like, there are potatoes everywhere out there. And I was like, might have overstepped the mark, but he still actually supplies us to this day. So we've managed to rekindle it.
Oh, you've made up.
Well done. But no, I love that pub. I still love that pub to this day. It was, and we put everything into that, and we won sort of dining pub of the county, gastro pub of the year. It did really well in a very short period of time. It was just what people wanted around this area. With just the boats and the pasture and the wicked like cattle, just to bring it together in a pub atmosphere was so good.
And you've got such amazing produce down there in Cornwall. You know, it is sort of, I know they say Kent is the Garden of England, but because you've got a bit of a microclimate, you don't get frosts. You get a lot of moisture. It just grows and the soil is very rich. And your pickings are really rich for you.
They are, and I just think that the diversity, you know, not just in the vegetables are incredible, but actually just in, I think there's like, they boast 80 to 120 species of fish on Newlyn Market every week. You know, that's pretty much unheard of in the world. You know, we have incredible fisheries. We have amazing pasture. You know, the beef around is just so good and just continues to get better. I think that, I don't know. Our beef, we've got 6 heads at the minute, but we sort of like, we earmark the beef for the season. So we've sort of like dwindled down a bit now, but the beef is, you know, it's reared on the headland overlooking the sea, you know, just on just organic pasture. It's just so perfect. They've
had a very stress-free life to make some very beautiful beef.
Good life.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know if people have been to the Hidden Hut, but I have to say you took on a bit of a gamble there because it was just a shack. And there is no road to it. I've eaten with you quite a few times. And you took it on and it started up quite small. And then you went, no, I'm going to build an outdoor bit of barbecue. And no, people can come and sit in the rain or the sun because it's England and you just have to take it as it comes. And your food is damn delicious, I will say, because of your sourcing and because of your freshness of your touch. It's straightforward, it's honest and it's abundant.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, and I think like that wholesome real food, like vibe to the hut is so important. And our big thing with, of course, seasonal, but like that as a given. But the big thing with the hut is the menus are selected daily on the weather, and that's a really interesting concept. Of we look at wind speed, land temperature, wind direction, what the rain's doing when. We've got like a whole forecasting sort of map that basically sort of tells us, we know what people like at certain times. We know that at 19 degrees, between 19 and 21 degrees, we know that people eat salted caramel ice cream and vanilla. And over 23 degrees, they always go for chocolate and strawberry. And all of these different, like, we've got all of these, like, we've got like quite a big sort of computerized system.
Yeah, you've got algorithms going.
Alongside the data that we've sort of grabbed. And so I think that we look massively at saying, what's the weather doing tomorrow? And you go, okay, it's going to break here at 1 o'clock. So we go for lunch hard early for an hour and a half and then chop out. But it's so tough at the minute. We've got some incredible chefs. Massive love to all of them. They're probably maybe not on now. They're probably like, I don't want to watch him on here, but they're all just sitting in the rafters, and I can't wait for us all just to sort of get back in the kitchen, you know. And we've got a massive off-site kitchen where we can sort of easily get back in there, but until it's really, we draw such a traffic and such a crowd, we just want to make sure that for our community as much as anything else, that it's like it's right and stable as to when we open and how we open.
Okay, are you able to open for the locals at Tatum's for coffees and little patisseries or whatever, or not yet?
We haven't as of yet. Well, absolutely, we're able to open everything because they all trade on, but it's just about it being right, really. And I think that we will probably do a few bits and pieces of coffee, but probably not until July. Okay. We might start doing a few takeaway bits from the taverna, but it's really just about just until everything else starts to free up and ease up. It's not really our role to start to sort of like drag people and pour people in, and we sit tight. You know, we sit tight until it's right. But we have got hopefully we're looking to get a sort of helipads above the hut for social distancing picnic sort of bays. So we've got some sort of like striping for that we'll just peg to the ground to give people like some lovely areas so they can go and have picnics overlooking the bay, and they've got the beach and everything else as well. So I think when the hut does actually come back online, I think it could potentially be quite busy again, you know, especially opening in July. There are 2 busiest months. So
yeah, no, they will. But I now understand, because of your travels, your I've got your cookery book, is your global influences in your recipes, because they are quite global. You know, you've got smoked aubergines, you've got paella, you've got sticky rice from Asia. You've got but it's all about freshness and just good produce. You know, like even today you filmed yourself cooking up some crabs, which they're obviously in abundance at the moment, and just then in seawater on a fire in a bowl, and then just cracking them, and these whacking great legs of crab claws, like heaven.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, that's where, you know, that's just it with Cornwall, with that beauty, that simplicity of like the produce of just a small fire and just get out, go for a walk, bit of lunch, and that's sort of really, I love that. Our big new one is we've got a roaming kitchen which is about to launch. It should have launched in February. We plan to go on the road with this, and it's a huge wood-fired field kitchen with a big sail awning over it that can go into cliffs, onto beaches, and the idea that we were going to do sort of remote suppers in the middle of, we had planned to go into right up into the Highlands of Scotland and then start working our way back down, just cherry picking ingredients, old farms, new farms, different places, anywhere that had like of interest. There's an incredible salt called Blackthorn salt. It's just they've just launched this week. It's absolutely, it just looks incredible. They've basically built these blackthorn towers. They're 40-50 foot tall, and they're harvesting the seawater through all of these. Just check it out, it's good. And
I'm gonna look.
I'm desperate to go up there and go and see these salt towers. They're right on the coast, and all of those sorts of things. We love going to. We went to Valencia and checked out the rice paddies last year, and picked some rice in Valencia, and all of those sorts of bits of where we're just constantly looking for like different products, different ideas, and it's
different ingredients that are local to the area and bringing them back. Tell me this. When you're going to do this roaming kitchen, were you going to have like a band, have a big list of your dates, or were you going to just release them the week before according to the weather and according to where you drifted?
I think it'd have to have a bit more structure to it than that, unfortunately. But I think, I think that we would have to, and there's loads of people that we'd love to cook with, and we really want to sort of like team with, and just like, I think there's something really lovely about, especially with outdoors and just cooking, but there's so many influential sort of chefs that we love and would love to sort of team with and cook with in their backyard or all over the country. And I just think that idea of being able to just cherry pick beautiful locations, I think that's the key, is that this can go anywhere. And I think that people will, they'll love it. When we've got, the images will come out soon. It's pretty cool. And
sounds really cool, because you actually came and joined Taste of London last year, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
And cooked up a smoking storm.
Yeah, no, it was great. I love that. I think Taste, that was the first time I've done Taste, actually. I really, I'm not massive, I don't really massively do the food festivals, but since like just because going to a food festival for me and being in a marquee cooking on an induction hob with a mirror, it's just like, oh my God, I just want to light stuff and burn and cook and spray, and that's how I like to cook. And so the fact that these festivals now have started to introduce, really with like Kristen Stevenson, DJ Barbecue, all of those sorts of guys, and Julian Brown, they're just literally now starting to like bring life in live fire cooking to those sorts of events. And it's quite amazing how many people are interested in that. I think just not just the theatre, but the smell, the idea of we've got a barbecue and we love that sort of food, and it just captures people enough, rather than just sort of sitting in a big sweaty marquee on like a plastic chair, just all hungry, watching someone cook some pasta. It's they've got a bit more life to them. And
so you approve of Meatopia?
I do. I love Meatopia. I think it's a great festival. I think it's slightly like maybe misunderstood, but I think it's what it does in championing brilliant chefs and like really like, and that idea of nose to tail philosophy. If you're going to eat meat, eat all of the whole animal and eat everything. And I think that that's the bit that really makes that special, that people do. They maybe challenge the normal, but they eat the whole animal. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. So. Now tell me, no disrespect to you, because you're a man, but I know that you make these beautiful long tables that you put in hidden places, which are dreamily dressed.
Yeah.
Who does all of that?
Not me. Not me.
That's what I have to ask you. Who came up with that pretty sort of nostalgic 1950s almost concept?
Well, I think it just depends. I guess it depends on the client as to what they're looking for, and what who we're doing it for. But I love working with Laura Jackson. She is just such a style guru. So if I do a supper with Laura, it's so cool, because I just literally just look after the food, and she's off getting illustrators. They're creating menus. They do handmade, beautiful like napkins out of like these incredibly like well sourced like fabrics, and the flowers. The worm girls like that do the flowers. They just bring together something absolutely incredible. And so I think that everyone has their skill, but I love doing stuff with Laura, and I'm sure. Well, hopefully we would love to. We're trying to get a table on the Sillies at the end of September on the beach, which Laura's like planning the dress for. But I think that those sorts of tablescapes and stuff. I mean, there are some incredible people, like talented people out there that just have it. But our big thing really is we try and keep it relatively simple, and they're definitely they're flower led. We've got Amanda Taffender here down the Roseland, and she does a lot of stuff for us, and she really has like a lovely style as well. So I think really just we try and sort of like commission and bring in like other people that we love working alongside that are specialists in their field. But it does make a difference, even just that idea of the picture, and you step back and you've been such in the haze of cooking it and preparing it and getting it ready and delivering, and then you go, wow, we've got nothing really to show of it. But then you look at the photos and the imagery and stuff, and you go, wow, they're a lovely capture of an evening.
And when you first started and you didn't have access to all these people, maybe was it just a friend who was helping you do it? Because I know you've now become you've got sponsorship from Moët Chandon, and you work with various very high-end brands, Land Rover and Barber,
Yeah, I mean, but I still, even, you know, everyone that we work with, they still, they just love it to be really simple as well. They just love it to be really brushed back. They don't really like it too polished. They come to us for a certain reason as well, you know, for that. But I think, but when we started out, hey, look, you know, when we started the hut, I couldn't even afford the oven. We had literally nothing, and the vicar's husband helped me make a table out of scaffold boards and some trestle legs, and you know, and we used old Wimbledon furniture for chairs. Our big thing about our business is we've grown organically, and we don't have any borrowings, we don't owe anyone anything, and actually we've just built it slowly, bit by bit, and we've just reinvested and bought a bit more and grabbed another oven, and that's
Oh, I
just,
love this. I
just
love this.
just
And your wife, did she come with you,
no.
or?
So I met her at the pub, at the Grim pub, which isn't so grim, it's beautiful. So I met Jem at the Rose and Inn. So she was studying at Edinburgh at the time, and then she came down for like a summer job, and then we hooked up, and she never went back.
So you took her out of university?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you can imagine how happy her dad was at that time.
Is she Cornish?
Yeah, she is. She's from Portscatho. And,
Okay.
and her mum and dad, they both live here in the village as well. So we're super lucky to have like a really cool network of family here for Gems as well. So
That's really, really nice.
yeah.
And I just want to ask you about your knife collection. You have a wicked looking knife collection.
Oh, I just love a knife. But I think that I love a crafted knife. You know, I love handmade.
I think you like Blenheim Forge.
I love the Blenheim boys. Yeah, they're great. They make beautiful knives.
They do.
But I think that there's so many brilliant artisan knife makers and axes. I love collecting an axe as well. You know, I've got like a leather holder with all of that in. But I just love anyone that just has like a skill like that and a real craft. They're just like they're just beautiful to use. They feel like you can smell a part of their life and a bit of them when you use it. And
they've got a story to them, and it's sort of like you're an organic craftsman and you like to support exactly the same.
I think that like it tends to be a bit like that. We have great potters. We've commissioned Fran now. I used to do a bit of ceramics. I'm probably gonna like cut over in your time, but she now makes pots and all sorts of stuff, and she's now got her ceramic studio in our kitchen, at the back of our kitchen in Portscatho.
Wow.
So she's just constantly making like Fran Osborne. She just makes the most incredible ceramics, beautiful like jugs, and she does all of our ceramics for the coffee shop. But they, I just think we just try and support as many people that have as much passion as we do about their sort of trade, really. But I do.
Can you share with us where you get your very handsome leather aprons from?
Oh, they were a gift. They were a gift, and they're a gift from just such a nice family. The guys they're from R&D Leather, and we basically started to look at maybe getting some thicker weight aprons. And the long and short of it was, I think they make a lot of leather goods for supermarkets, like maybe jackets or handbags and stuff. So, and this was like a sort of offset that Dean decided to sort of set up, that maybe he could do some aprons. But yeah, I never forget the delivery. I was in central London at the time, and his brother delivered them, and he delivered like 6 of them, and they weigh about 10 kilos each. And he had them over his shoulder, and he'd just come off of the tube, and he was just drenched with sweat. And they are so heavy, but they are so lovely when you beside the fire. If you're sitting beside the fire or cooking all day, to have that like that thickness there is just
that protection.
But R&D Leather are the company. Yeah, I think they're Somerset based.
Okay, well, they're incredibly handsome. I'm just going to read out. We've got lots of really lovely comments. I haven't been able to read them out. Amy says, these guys are beyond incredible, and the hut and any of their ventures are a place to lose yourself and feel part of something. Forever grateful. That's very nice. There's been lots of lovely messages, and everyone's saying they've been eating with you and they're missing you.
But
I'm glad you're keeping yourself busy. I'm glad you've got little people who are you're taking up your extra love, but you're obviously not one to sit still, and so you're on to the next venture, and you will hope to be open in July in some form or way.
That's it. That's right. We will.
Yeah.
We'll be there or thereabouts.
Well, I just love your concept of fire, outdoor eating. I love the idea now of taking some matches, some cheese, and then gathering some wood and lighting a little fire and, you know, melting my cheese on my toast to make some,
Absolutely.
you know, anything is possible on an outdoor fire. And can I ask you, what is your favorite food, inspired film, book, chef?
Yeah. Cool. So, I loved Anthony Bourdain. Everything I loved about Anthony Bourdain. Just the book Kitchen Confidential for me is just like an all-time classic. But I love I loved his No Reservations. I love that sort of movement and street food and restaurant sort of vibe where he really, really got something quite special. So he's always up there for me as like, as like a hero. What was the so food wise? I think the bit I massively crave from lockdown is with 45 miles, 50 miles round trip to any takeaway or any Indian restaurant.
Okay.
And I think that brings me. I just dream.
Oh, Dishoom!
I just dream about Dishoom. I dream about a bacon naan bread if I'm there in the morning at the weekend. Or that book is so good, and there is a black dal book, a recipe in there that takes such a long time to do, but it is so good. And so because we don't really have a curry house anywhere nearby, the Dishoom book is covered in curry. It's like it's taken a bit of a pounding, but it'd be quite nice to have a night off of cooking soon.
Oh, well, listen, you've been absolutely fantastic. I hope I can make it down to see you sometime this summer when you reopen. And everyone is hoping that you are. And I wish you the very, very best of luck. And Simon, enjoy.
Just one last thing. I am grilling tomorrow with Luca, the famous Luca from Passion Vino, on Instagram. So if anyone fancies watching, I'm doing loads of barbecue grill tips. And I've got a few different like dishes that I'm going to sort of share. So if anyone wants any Barbie tips tomorrow, I'll be about 10 yards from here in the garden.
And is that going out live or they go on to IGTV?
Yeah, live. I think it's 3 o'clock, I think we're on.
Okay. But you'll save them so we can see them later if we're not around at 3.
Absolutely.
That's a really good tip, everyone. So you'll be able to meet Simon again tomorrow on his own, Simon Stallard, or Stallards, is it called?
Yeah, Stallard.
Yeah, you'll come up. And you can see Simon again and get some wisdom on grilling and fire cooking that he'll be showing with another chef. Thank you very much, Simon.
I know, thank you, and cheers for everyone that's like just hung on in there and watched us chat. But thanks for your interest, and see you soon.
Take care. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.